On this episode of That Carolina Guy, we're going to dive into a little music, folks. Are you a David Lee Halen fan or a Van Hagar fan? Before we get into the day's content, make sure you subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It's free of charge. Pound that like button, hit that bell notification to be notified of future videos like what's in this content on this video today. And by all means, folks, leave me some comments. I love the dialogue. All right, folks, I got sitting around thinking about it, and probably going to put more music videos, and as far as not really playing the music, but just talking about certain albums or certain bands, or a band that I might have loved for a couple albums and they went down, or, buying an album off of one or two songs and the band after that sucked, or really kind of bringing out my favorite bands that I think they have longevity. But I kind of wanted to get into this David Lee Halen versus Van Hagar. Because, Van Halen goes back starting as early as 1972. And they put their first album out, Van Halen #1, in 1978. Now, I was a teenager when this came out. And really, I wasn't even a teenager. I was probably about 11 years old when it came out. But believe it or not, I was about 13 in 1980 before I even heard of Van Halen. Just didn't listen to a lot of radio then. I was into sports. And believe it or not, I was, like I said, 12, 13 years old. Was with some other kids at a church youth group. They went to a bonfire outside of a big church in the woods. And people had their trucks and cars out there. And, being there, it was a Christian mingle, so to speak. But as a boy, 12 or 13, you're kind of looking at the girls and you're talking to some of your buddies. And the smell of that bonfire was in the air, that crisp, cool weather. And I'll still never forget the first time I heard Running with the Devil, the beginning, Mark Anthony's bass. And just hearing like a freight train coming. And just Eddie Van Halen on that and David Lee Roth wailing away, singing. How important that was. I could be in 105-degree heat, folks. And if I hear Running with the Devil by Van Halen, I can smell the smoke from that bonfire. I get a little chill like I did on that October evening. It takes me back to my youth. But I'll never forget Van Halen's first 6 albums. You got Van Halen #1 came out in 78. It reached a high of number 19. And folks, the reason why it didn't get higher, they weren't a known commodity. 1979, Van Halen #2 comes out. It got as high as number 6. To me, the first 6 albums with David Lee Roth, I thought it was one of the weaker ones, but it was a good album. Dance the Night Away, DOA. 1980, Women and Children First, and Cradle Will Rock. Some really good songs on that album. Everybody Wants Some. It premiered as high as number 6. Then 1981, Fair Warning got as high as number 5. I thought it was a very underrated album. The song Unchained. I'm trying to go back, just a couple other songs on that album that were really good. 1982, one of my favorite Van Halen albums, Diver Down, had as high as number 3. It's a little geeky and commercially, and I've got friends that are more like into Van Hagar, Sammy Hagar, with Van Halen, and they pointed this album and saying it was weak because of Happy Trails and just some of the, Big Bad Bill, stuff like that. But man, I remember, that album, songs that were underrated like Secrets, Little Guitars, just really, really good songs on that album that just made it such an awesome thing to listen to. And then, of course, 1984, going as high as number 2. The album 1984 was an incredible album. To this day, I don't get tired of hearing Panama. I thought Drop Dead Legs was a good album. Just Hot for Teacher was good. I know Jump was on the album. It was kind of commercial. But it was a really good album. Top Jimmy was on that album. Girl Gone Bad, just really good songs on that album. And then the guys broke up. And I think they broke up in the middle of 85. I think I graduated then, and I think it was that summer, and I'm getting ready to go off to college. They break up. And it was like a death in the family. Because Van Halen was one of the premier bands that kind of put me on track to listen to heavy metal. Yeah, I had listened to Kiss before. I had been into a couple of other bands. Yeah, there were other bands that got me deeper into heavier metal. But Van Halen had a lot to do with really letting me connect with the music that I loved, which was heavy metal. And then, Van Halen comes back and they get Sammy Hagar. Now, on a side note here, David Lee Roth went out on his own. And a lot of people thought he was a showman, a joke, whatever you want to call him. They just thought he was a clown, didn't like it. Well, I was in the crowd that preferred David Lee Roth and thought that Eat 'Em and Smile and, even, I guess, Going Crazy, whatever his other solo EP was, I thought was good stuff. I liked it. I thought him and Steve Vai did well together. He had some great songs, Yankee Roads with good music. And yeah, he was over the top performer, and that's what he was. And I know Van Halen, the Eddie Van Halen and his brother Michael Anthony with Sammy Hagar was more technical into the music side. I get that. I understand. So in '86, Sammy Hagar, and the only song I remember him, even though he was in Montrose, by himself was I Can't Drive 55, which was a decent song. But in 1986, they released 5150. It went all the way to #1. So I guess I'm in the category because I'm more of a David Lee Halen than a Van Hagar fan. Songs like Dreams, When It's Love, Right Now, Pound Cake. 1988, OU812 came out. It hits #1. Still, I bought 5150, thought it was decent. I just missed David Lee Roth. OU812 came out, I started kind of getting off the Van Halen wagon. Didn't think it was as good. By the time For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge came out, and it was #1 in 1991, I was completely off the Van Halen album. And I thought that, yeah, I kind of turned my back on them at that point. 5150 was me still trying to hold on to a band that my feelings were hurt because David Lee Roth was gone. OU812 kind of was me saying, I'm touching the doorknob, I'm getting ready to walk out of this relationship. And For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge was it. I slammed the door behind me and never turned back. And of course in '95 they come out with the album Balance, and it hit #1 as well. And I'll be honest, I don't know anything on that album. And I have good friends, some are a few years older than me. They love Sammy Hagar. They think David Lee Roth is a joke. Now they love Van Halen #1 and 2, and they love Fair Warning and Women and Children First. They just prefer Sammy Hagar. And I've got friends who were more David Lee Roth, and the minute he left, they were done with Van Halen. They were done with that, and they're more of David Lee Roth. There's really no middle of the road you can be. Yes, I do still like Van Halen with Hagar, but it wasn't the same. I prefer David Lee Roth. Like I said, I've got friends who are Van Hagar fans, and they don't like David Lee Roth's actions, but they do listen to the first 6 albums for the most part, and like those albums, especially the first few. And you look at David Lee Roth's songs, In the Cradle Will Rock, Unchained, Panama, Hot for Teacher, Running with the Devil. The list goes on and on and on. Dance the Night Away, Dancing in the Street. DOA was an underrated song. Hang 'Em High off of Diver Dan was such a good song. And it just was one of them things. So put me in the category, I was a David Lee Halen fan. And a part of me died when he left Van Halen. And there's no knock on Sammy Hagar being in Van Halen. It just wasn't the same band to me anymore. And I know other people picked it up. So folks, what do you think of today's video? Are you a David Lee Halen fan? Or are you the Van Hagar fan? Leave me some comments. I love the dialogue. Pound that like button. By all means, folks, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. And hit that bell notification to be notified of future videos like the ones on today. I will see you on another episode of That Carolina Guy.